About a month ago, I decided that I wanted to start a challenge, mostly because I had found it really difficult to be isolated here in my home. And I had just recently finished an art studio here in my garage. I wanted no more than to just invite my friends who are artists, who are creators, to come over and create things with me in this little studio, but found that I could not. It was also the Lenten season, and I was pondering the Stations of the Cross. And I had thought about going ahead and just painting the stations as a Lenten practice. But instead, what I wanted was to see how other people, other friends and people in the art community would interpret them. And so I started a challenge. And I have been more than blessed this last month as different people have submitted their interpretations of the stations. It has basically been like Christmas every day, as folks have turned things into me before posting them on social media. They've emailed or texted, they've called, they've talked about the different stations, the biblical texts, over with me. And I have been brought on a journey. And so tonight, I want to show you the journey.
Haven't seen you in quite a while. I was down the hall just killing time. Last time we met, it was a low-lit room. We were as close together as a bride and a groom. We ate the food, we drank the wine. Everybody was having a good time except for you. You were talking like it was the end of the world. I took the money. I spiked your drink. You miss too much these days if you stop to think. You led me on with those innocent eyes. You knew I loved the element of surprise. Yeah, in the garden, I was playing the tart. I kissed your lips. I broke your heart. But you were acting like it was the end of the world. In my dream, I was drowning my sorrows, but my sorrows, they learned to swim, surrounding me, going down on me, spilling over the brim. Waves of regret, waves of joy. I reached out for the one I tried to destroy. And you said you'd wait until the end of the world.
You take the camera. I'm longing for you. I'm longing for you. I'm longing for you, dear God. I am. I'm hoping for you. I'm hoping I'm hoping for you, dear God. I am. Then you whisper in a small, soft, resilient voice, and hold me in your arms and say, my child, rejoice, because there's no need to fear me, and know I I'm the great I am. Oh, I'm the great I am. Oh, I'm thirsty for you. Come and fill me with you. And make me anew, dear God. I am. I'm searching for you. I'm searching for you. I am searching for you, dear God. I am. And she picks me up and wipes my tears away. You hold me in your arms and said, I'll be okay, because there's no need to fear. I'm here. No, I am. I am. I am. I'm the great I am. Oh, I'm the great I am. Oh, I'm the great I am. I'm the great I am. I'm thankful for you. I am thankful for you. I'm thankful for you, dear God. I am. I You're the great I am. Oh, you're the great I am. Oh.
how do I respond to the Station of the Cross? And I couldn't do it in just one way. So I did kind of a multimodal art project. I started taking origami paper and just started tearing it and started singing while I'm tearing it. And Natalie Imbruglia's Torn came to mind. Nothing's right, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and unashamed, lying naked on the floor. Illusion never changed into something real. I'm wide awake and I can see the perfect sky is torn. And so I started tearing paper and I started seeing flames in the paper. So this is totally like a third grade art project. But I just kept seeing Peter's face in the fire. And I couldn't help but see Peter's tears as he wept bitterly. And just thinking right now how I miss the elements, how I miss the sacraments, how I miss singing with people, how I miss being with people. And just knowing that God is with us in the midst of all of this, in the whirlwind, in the fire, in the tears, in the clouds, in the moon, in the abstract, in the real. And so I just also kept singing while I did this, and just started mashing things up. So I started mashing paper, I started mashing acrylic, I started mashing quilling, I started mashing metallic pens, I started mashing cotton, I started mashing fuels hemorrhage. Don't fall away and leave me to myself. Don't fall away and leave love bleeding in my hands again. And leave love bleeding in my hands, love lies bleeding. And then thinking about Tears for Fears and Mad World, I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad, and the dreams of which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
A blessing. Bless us, O God. Inspire us with a belly full of fresh air so we can breathe out a sigh of relief, exhale stress and division. Bless us, O God, and make our love expansive, overflowing into the homes and hearts of our neighbors so we can stay home, quarantined, and keep us all safe and healthy. Bless us, O God, so we may be more like you, fierce, gentle, knowing, feminine, to lead a world forward bravely into your will. Bless us, O God, so we act boldly in loving your people. Guide us to attend to the voices calling out in need instead of having to be right. Make kind more than right. Bless us, O God, so when they ask us if Jesus is King, we say, yes, our lover, our sibling is King. Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. Bless us, O God, so when they say we are wrong and must see to their ways, speak loudly into the world so we can silently smile and, like Jesus, make no reply. Bless us, O God. Let us be still so the Spirit can move around us and within us with joy and with light. And may we follow it out into the world. Bless us, O God. Wow. You astonish us with your care, with your embrace, and with your love. I try to paint the response to today's text, and I drafted this image on my iPad that I was intending to paint.
Then Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged, and the soldiers made a crown out of thorns and placed it on his head and clothed him in a purple cloak. And they came to him and said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him repeatedly. John 19:1-3. Grant us patience in times of suffering, that we may offer our lives as a sacrifice of praise. Help us walk in your steps. Forcefully mocked, holding on to the pain, stinging, burning, sweating to death. I'm sentenced in your judgment. We are alone. The streets are a trash party and our economy is crashing. But I'm still holding on, smiling in the joy of the sun, learning to trust myself again and again. I am whole, my breath whispered. I am one, I said. I am you, I knew it. I am divine, you said. Try to love me as I do you. I dare you.
To bear it. To bear it. Just what are you asking? And how long will it take? If you knew the long-term consequences, knew them in advance, did you? Did anyone? Would it change what you're doing right now? To bear it, to hold it, the heaviness you're holding. It may be the cross, yet it may be your body giving witness, telling a story words can't, about the grief, about the confusion, about the frustration, about the I can't even of these days. To bear it, to endure it. The suffering you're enduring, it may be the cross, yet it may be the manner in which your life is on display, no longer according to the rules you know, but with new rules, judged intimately and remotely by criteria not known in advance. To bear it, to birth it. This new life you're birthing, it may be the cross, yet it may be the place you offer, outside institutions as you've known them, inside yourself, yet only partially, and never belonging to you. A place for the source that sustains all to renew itself through breath. To bear it, it will cost everything. The comfort of friends, the security of work, the freedom to move about the world as you intended. Yet it will not be the end of the story. What you bear in these days, at great cost to you, brings forth new life, new ways of living, new ways of bearing.
This is from a retelling of the gospel I started writing years ago and then I never finished. But this is Station of the Cross. I think it's number 10 or 11. Anyway, I'm excited. Excerpts from the story of Jesus. Jesus' mom and dad. Jesus. He hated when his mom had said his name like that. Technically, he hadn't really done anything wrong, but he certainly had frustrated her, and he hated disappointing his parents in any way. They had reached a point in their relationship that was almost idyllic, which made the approaching days so full of tension, hope, and fear. Would he actually be able to go through with it? His mom swept into the room. Her hair was long and black, her skin brown. She had long fingers, long limbs. She had a muscular yet soft body and was an excellent cook. His mom was the perfect source of comfort when he was sick or had a broken heart. She knew exactly how to place her cool hand on his forehead when he had a fever. She carried a plate of stuffed grape leaves, and lamb. She went back to the kitchen for salad, wine, and bread. His father came in then. Son, how was your day? Did you get everything done that I had asked you to do? Yes, Abba, came Jesus' reply simply, and he was wrapped in a warm embrace. Where his mother was wise and intuitive, she was empathetic and enchanting. His dad was strong, full of wisdom, and sometimes unyielding. Once he had made up his mind, it was very hard to change it. He was the most hardworking man Jesus had ever seen. He was tireless and did things with such precision. He had taught Jesus to make every effort to do things right the first time. He had been taught that there is nothing as satisfying as looking at your day's labor and seeing near perfection in your attention to detail and creativity. His dad could be hard-headed, but Jesus felt deeply loved and cared for. His dad knew that some decisions were difficult, but what they yielded in the long run was incomparable. They sat down to eat. They bowed their heads, blessed the food, and settled down into the meal. His parents were called many things, but to his mom, Espiritu Santo was her favorite. His father went by Abba mostly, and when they ate a meal together, it took time. They would talk, rehash the day, and always laugh together. His dad had the best laugh. It was huge and barrel-chested, like peals of thunder. Abba often talked about the first creation. He talked endlessly about Adam and Eve and their descendants. Jesus was there, but not. It was complicated. Jesus' birth. Mary had been born a mere 14 years ago, which in the span of eternity wasn't a millisecond. So it felt like before he could even take a breath, it was time to go. Jesus plunged into the soft, warm darkness of Mary's womb. He was present and yet not. He grew. She cooed to him and sang to him. He heard the warm tones of Joseph's voice. He was experiencing the art of creation without truly being present. And then there was the bumpy road. They traveled what seemed like an endless distance as he tried to stretch in that increasingly cramped place. And then there was arguing and pleading and finally a place to stay. He heard a sigh of relief from Mary. There were twinges of tightness around his body that grew more and more intense. He heard Mary sighing and breathing. He heard her cries slipping out of that safe, held place. And he gasped his first breath. It was strange as he entered the human race, all of his senses alight with sounds, smells, and touches. He felt his body being cleansed, and he ate. Jesus slept. I think I'm hilarious. Church jokes. Jesus wept, Jesus slept. We get it. The Garden of Gethsemane. They journeyed into the garden. Jesus was desperate to talk to his parents. He had wanted his friends along too. Just side note, whenever Jesus went off by himself to pray, he always met with his parents. His mom would bring something to eat and they would talk and blah, blah, blah. So this is the premise of this part of the thing. He wanted his best friends along too. Please, brothers, come with me. I need to pray. I'm dying. My time is near. Please stay right here and pray with me. Peter yawned. Of course, Jesus will hang back here. You go, pray. We'll be right here whenever you need us. Jesus left Peter, James, and John and walked farther into the Garden of Gethsemane. He saw his mom first. She was waiting, talking quietly with his dad. They turned. Jesus practically ran into their arms. They were crying, please, Abba, please, I'm so scared. Please figure out another way, please, like you did for Abraham and Isaac. You gave them a ram. You gave them a sacrifice. Abba cried, I'm so sorry, son. I never wanted this for anyone. The law must be fulfilled, but I don't want it to be you. Abba was crying. Espiritu Santo spoke up. I need you to look at me. Jesus, look at me. You were born for this day. You've endured everything for today. You can do this, son. She had to look away. Her voice cracked. You're strong, Jesus. You're loving and you can do this. The law demands a sacrifice so that we all may be united again. My baby, my son. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all of their sins. Abba spoke again. You're such a good son. I'm so proud of you. It's going to hurt so bad, Dad. I'm so scared. I'll do as you say, but if there's any other way. Jesus knew the answer as he spoke it. They sat down together as Jesus sobbed. He went back briefly to talk with his friends and found them all sleeping. Can't you stay awake for even an hour? He was angry. I'm about to die and you can't keep awake. Please pray for me, please. I need you to be here now and to pray. I'm willing to die, but it feels impossible. The crucifixion. Scoop. Jesus was brought to a place called the Skull. He was put on trial and wrongfully sentenced to death like multitudes before and after him. The crowds that had once been so loving and grateful turned their full vent of rage. I'm going to read that again, sorry. The crowds that had once been so loving and grateful turned the full vent of their rage, dissatisfaction, and judgment towards him. Where they had once cheered Messiah and Redeemer, they now screamed, "Crucify him." What in the human spirit would ever call for murder? That they so hated Jesus and all that he and his disciples brought to the world so deeply that they would scream for his execution. Likely the same parts in ourselves that withstands mass incarceration of brown and black bodies, or forgetting that people die of hunger and preventable diseases like malaria. We are so quick to forget. We're so quick to move past what is not right in front of us. We are so quick to rage. Jesus was up on the cross now paying for the sins of every generation before him and every generation after him. The pain was beyond description. Each breath ragged and burning his lungs. He was alone. He was utterly alone in his suffering. No one could bring him an ounce of comfort. He wept. His pain was primal. Physically, it was unbearable. And emotionally, he was the most brokenhearted he'd ever been. The grief saturated him to his bones. Through the haze of pain and soul-wrenching aloneness, he realized his parents were being crucified along with him. There on his cross, his mom and dad were wrapped around him. He looked to his left, and there was his beautiful mom, his mother's beautiful, sweating and agonized face. Jesus looked to his right. His dad's face was practically unreadable. He saw his grief, and then a flash of rage and a roll of thunder. Jesus pleaded, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And that is the end of the reading so far.
Mom.
Some Messiah you are. Why don't you save yourself if you got the power of God on your side? Why don't you save all of us? Shut up! Have you no fear? Have you no shame? We ended up here because we deserve it. You and me, we made our choices. Do you even remember what he said? Be kind to one another. That's all. And he's here with us, common thieves. Why? We're not worthy to be here with him. What has he done that's wrong? He is the Messiah. He is the Messiah. Jesus, can you hear me? Jesus, will you remember me when you come into your kingdom? I'm no one. I'm a thief and a liar and a sinner. But will you remember me? I don't ask you to save me. Just remember me. Don't worry. I will. I can promise you this. Today, you'll be with me in paradise.